Hi everybody, thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings dear ones, I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. It has been mentioned that there are those who are unseen that know who you are, who are here, and I mean here. If you're a visitor listening to this later, here means here for you as well. This is a sacred space that you have decided to listen to. And if you continue listening, all of the energies that are in this room at the moment are yours as well. Humans, everyone, respected, honored, everyone. There is an entourage that doesn't just accompany me. It's an entourage that is developed from the various soul energies in the room. An entourage that comes to watch, honor, sometimes seemingly sit in your lap, knock on your nose, just to say, we're here, we're here, we're here. Years ago I said it, you're never alone. We mean this. It's impossible. Because of the system that is spiritual, the system, if you wish, of God. You come to a place and you finally understand and realize, number one, you're part of the system. Number two, you're here temporarily. This soul journeying that you do, you're here temporarily. Until the next journey in the next life, same soul. And so, dear ones, we're looking at ancients among you. And there is so much honor that you made it, that you've come, that you're here. We wish to extend the teaching from last week. Now, if you had no idea what that was, it's fine. We always start as though you don't, so that we can be complete. With those who would listen to one message, you wouldn't have to then listen to others. Last week, we introduced you to the concept of clearing that which we call your Akash. Now let me define Akash yet again. And in order to do this, we always will do this. We posture this with great honor and respect for what it means. Inside you, human being, right now, there is an active record of everything you've ever done on this planet. Everything. It lands eventually in your DNA. As you reincarnate, the last lifetime is then included, and you come in with that, fresh. Everything that you have ever experienced is there. And as we've taught before, it's not a linear representation as you would get in a book. The Akashic record is not about the activities of a human. It's about the energies. What was it like for you? Short lifetimes, long ones, various places of the planet, different cultures, different faces, different languages, different food. What was it like to be in the wars, to be a warrior and kill others, to be on the battlefield and be killed? All of you were. All of you. What's it like to be drowned? So many of you were. What's it like to lose children? And you would say that must be awful. It is. It still is. But when you come into a planet where every other child lives, you don't even name them till they're 3 months old. What's it like? What's it like to wake up and realize that you have information as an old soul that goes against that which is taught about God? Do you shut up or do you not? What's it like to be ostracized away from anyone else in the village, to live alone and only be kept alive because you have the magic, they think, because you have the intuition to keep them alive, perhaps some potions, some information from Gaia and the earth to heal those around you. This is your life. This is who I talk to, old soul. What's it like for me to tell you there are civilizations you lived in you have no idea about? And yet your Akash carries them all. And the information that is in this multidimensional space of storage within every single human listening now, that information is profound with energy. What kind of energy is it? Well, it's remembered things. We've talked about this before. We've said the difference between the Akashic Records reaction and what it means 10 years ago and today is vastly different. That's what's changing. In an older energy, the Akashic Record comes up and it then gives you information of remembrance, and sometimes it's difficult. Why would that be? Kryon, why is the Akash so disturbing to some that we have to have readers help us to dismiss certain things in our memory? Keeps us awake at night. It's difficult to work with. Why would that be? What kind of a system does that? And here's the answer. It's a system of free choice. As goes the consciousness of the human being, goes the consciousness of remembrance of the Akash. You remember dramatic things. Things that go bump in the night. Things that you don't want to remember. Feelings you can't explain. That's been the way of it. Until now. Last week we gave you information and exercise, words if you wish, and reminded you of the power you have over your own body, and in this energy, the appropriateness of reframing the Akash. Demanding, in your own words, that the Akash stop remembering the negativity and the drama and start remembering the beauty. Remembering the good times, what it felt like for all of you as a woman to give birth. What it felt like for all of you as a man to watch it. The pride, the joy, the overwhelming beauty, the benevolence. It's there. It's all there. To command your Akash to stop with the old energy programs, the tapes that play, and instead give you something you didn't expect. Beautiful memories. It changes that residual buzzing in the background. We told you that. Now, where does it go from here? It may seem like we're going to skip around, but I'm going to tell you what has happened to the Akash, what it became. Now, the Akash has never changed, but human beings saw it and rewrote the rules. I'll tell you about that. So you have a bit of an understanding about the buzz that some of you have. But not before an update. There are those listening to this now who were there last week. There are those who not only participated in the exercise, but will listen to the channel and participate again. Those who've never heard it will hear it for the first time. There will be thousands who will participate. There will be some who feel something. There will be some who don't. Because timing is everything. On this planet, there is never a time when we give you information of one esoteric pill does one thing forever. Some of you must work at it, work into it, do it a number of times if you wish. Although I'll tell you, the body hears it. Oh, it hears it. It hears it and starts working on it, even though you don't think it. There are some of them. Not necessarily this one. We've had some interesting dreams all of a sudden. A dream that we can put you back into circumstances that were uncomfortable. Circumstances that made you less than. Putting you back into a time when there was betrayal. Putting you back into uncomfortable work situations or things that happen. And you're put back in the dream, and there they are happening again. And you wake up in the morning and you'll say, this isn't really what I had hoped for. And now I have what they call a bad taste in my mouth for the whole day because that dream was so real. I didn't need to go back and feel that all again. Oh, yes, you did. And here's why, because that was your closure. You had to go back. You had to look it in the face. Sometimes there are things you never wanted to look at. Some of you are not done yet. This is the Akashic record at its best. It's the Akashic record for this lifetime at its best. Things that have happened to you that you go back and revisit. In the Akash, a drowning, a death, or a time perhaps on the battlefield where you took a life and it stuck with you for ages, and suddenly here comes the dream and you just feel awful. You'll say, I just killed somebody and I feel it all over. It's the worst thing that ever happened to me. I couldn't do that, but I did it. I can feel it. Or I was just killed. Or I drowned. Whatever it was. Then you'll wonder, what is the appropriateness of that? I'll tell you, it's a closure. It means it's gone. That's what it means. And if you're one who had one of those dreams, congratulations. It's working. Do you see how this works? It's working. You have to go there because you didn't want to face it. Even in a dream. You have to go there and be uncomfortable for a moment in a dream. Doesn't hurt you. But for those moments, the Akash is working with you to say, in order to dismiss this, you got to look at it. And you are, many of you. And in the looking at it, there is full and complete clearing. It's not coming back. Not coming back. This is the power you have today, and we talked about it last week. I want to talk about the Akash. It's beautiful. What a system. It's a system of remembrance. Can you imagine opening an Akashic book with one page? One page is everything you've ever done. Because it's multidimensional, the one page is thousands of volumes of energy that are multidimensional. They come flying out. They go all over the walls and the ceiling. They're not in order. They don't have to be. And you look at the ones that are different colors because they have different energies. Can you imagine going back and seeing who you were, what you've accomplished? Do you think that there's a measurement in the Akashic record, not of horror, but of beauty? Do you think there's a measurement of wisdom? How much did you learn? And how would you like to have that presented to you today? So that you can walk from place to place and not make the same mistakes. So you can know when someone's telling you the truth. When you can feel when you get up in the morning a benevolence that says, this is a good day. It's a good day because I'm here. It's a good day because the sacredness in me sees the sacredness in Gaia. It's a good day because I know my ancestors. It's a good day because those who interface with me today will also feel it. And it may be as simple as you and your children. They'll feel it. You and somebody at work, they'll feel it. This is the difference between human beings who are always affected by the noise, the buzz, that in the Akash, which is always there, that has always kept you away from the magnificence that you deserve. And we dealt with it last week. I'll tell you what happened in history. The Akashic record has been with you since the seeding of the Pleiadians. when you started receiving the sacred information from the very, very top. Either original or you got it from an ancestor. And you started to awaken with spiritual knowledge. The old souls of this planet have always had it. You are the ones that hold this information. It's beautiful. And it's simple. You came from the stars. You came from that which is God. You're seen by God as beautiful. And the God that you were introduced to, the Spirit, if you wish, the creative source, if you wish, was so far above any consciousness that you have ever seen on this planet that you can't describe it. Pure love. Pure love. Shining brighter than anything you can ever imagine. All it is pure love and compassion. So beautiful that when you return to the other side of the veil, you're part of it. You wash in the beauty of the song that plays that makes your heart sing with it. That's God. I can't even give you anything bigger. You wouldn't see it. You wouldn't understand it. That's God. Human beings began to evolve. Systems started. One of the first systems in this civilization you call Hinduism. We have spoken of this even in India, where we, for the first time, revealed things. This was the original system approach, later becoming that with Buddha. But it featured something. The Hindu system was profitless, right to the source. You didn't go through anyone. Nobody had to do anything. There was an acknowledgement of oneness with everything. There still is today. But the Akashic record developed into something different. Enter karma. Karma is a direct derivative of the Akashic energy. Things that happen to you that then lay energy in certain ways that invite you to clear them. And the system would invite you to clean up that which you didn't want and work with other entities of Hinduism that would help you clear negativity to the point where you did not have the karma anymore. You could clear it. You could go to a place where you were in full enlightenment because you did not have any more karma. Now, dear ones, do you find that interesting that that's exactly what we did last week? It was a system of clearing the Akash. It is there yet today. When I arrived 29 years ago, one of the first things I taught you is that karma worked then, it's no longer needed. You don't have to remember any of these things. It's automatic. Karmic clearing is automatic. Akashic clearing. We told you, you don't need to be pushed around by any energies. At this point in your life, in the spiritual system, karma is no longer needed. That's controversial. But look at who you are today. You're coming in with full knowledge. You don't need things to push and pull you around to learn lessons. You're beyond that. And you come in clean, ready to go to work with that bracelet on we talked about this morning. You've got other things to do besides work with karma. Even this day, there are those who say, what do I do about the karma? Even after I've said, you don't have it. You don't have to worry about it. There are those who will argue. I want you just to look at yourself, say, do I need it? Really? At this point in my spirituality as an old soul in this new energy, does it hurt me or help me? Does it hinder my path? Does it enhance me? You make up your own mind. Don't you find it interesting that it was converted into a system that then became karmic? Now, what happens next is really, really interesting. Because now certain systems, over thousands of years, begin to morph the whole idea I want to introduce you to the human concept of sin. Now you have something where you start humanizing the system. Humanizing is the word we mean that you reduce all of the parts of the system to fit within what you are, to be that which is human nature. As long ago as you wish, as the Greeks, before sin, they made their gods dysfunctional in order for the mythology of punishment to start. That then graduates and graduates, and finally you have a God who looks at you and judges you for your behavior. Sin is supposed to be defined as anything that displeases God. And I have something to tell you that you may or may not grasp at this point. God is not a human. There is nothing like displeasing, pleasing with the creative source of the universe. It's pure love. It doesn't think like you do. It doesn't have the constructs like you do. There is not even the beginning of a consciousness that would even be close to what you have. Not even close. And yet, you have developed a system, a beautiful love of God, and at the same time, you've made God a bad father. Let me ask you again, yet again, would any of you take a child, no matter what they've done, and throw them into a place where they're going to be burned alive for eternity? Which one of you parents will raise your hand and say, well, yeah, they've done some bad stuff, that's what they deserve? And there's not one of you. There's not one of you. And yet you place that on the creative source. Yep, that sure is the way God works, you say. No, it isn't. The entire construct of sin and punishment developed completely and totally from the human mind. A human being's construct put upon the Almighty, creator of the universe. Does not work that way. There were no wars in heaven. And all of this literally coming from the Akashic record. Because the Akashic record has certain energies that when you morph these systems will create guilt. Now you are sorry for what you did that you feel in your Akashic record. It's getting worse, isn't it? Now you sit there and you don't know what to think. If God is real, is God displeased with who I am? I had a dream the other night. I'm not sure what it means, but I'm quite sure I did something wrong. That's why I had the dream. I'm afraid. I'm afraid I'm not doing this or that right or wrong. Never understanding at that moment in time. This is a derivative of that which is your Akashic record. The energies of your record literally were then converted into karma, then converted into sin and punishment. All these same reactions and feelings then getting lower and lower in a consciousness state to bring you to your knees, human being, where you're afraid of God. Afraid. There's an oxymoron here. It doesn't even make sense that you would bring yourself to a place where you would fear that which was inside you, which is the most benevolent, gorgeous, loving thing that ever could be there. Talked into it, trained into it. This may offend some. That is not the purpose. The purpose is to reveal and enlighten, to open the box, to unseal a grander truth, that there is no judgment with a God that created you out of love. Where is it going next? What's going to happen? Revelation on the planet? Compassion is coming? Reframing and rewriting some of these things that I've just told you. That's what's going to happen. I know this because I've seen it before. I bring you this history to show you where this has come from, what has become it. These wonderful secrets that you had, literally, as a Lemurian, some of you, from the original teaching wheel, had to go underground, not be taught, only be kept. Secret societies you think today are conspiracies. They're only ones who have kept the secrets of what you learned in Lemuria. And in this new energy, they're starting to pop out. You're going to see organizations start to reveal what they know, and they're going to be Metaphysics 101. You're going to start creating organizations yourself to teach these things openly, not in secret. And I remind you, it's one of the first times you've been able to do this without something coming after you or being shut down, or worse. There are some who are still afraid to come out of the closet light workers. They don't want to come out of the closet because the last time they did, it was awful. And now it won't be. Now I'm going to give you another concept just to make it really confusing. If you're going to become a bit more multidimensional, dear ones, you're going to now have to deal with a different kind of attribute in your Akash. Stand by. So let me reveal, again, the summary, that in this new energy, as bad as it has become, the systems that gave you these things will start to be more enlightened in their approach. They will start to see that it's not commensurate with the love they teach. There will be a lightening of the load. Rules will change slightly, as they have over the eons and decades. It'll start happening again. There will be a return to one of the original ideas that God is inside of every single human. And the respect of that will be seen as primary, no matter who they are or what they believe. That's what they'll have in common. This starts a world that will pull itself out of where they are and have no more war. That's the summary. Now let me tell you something you need to deal with. There is the idea, this train of time you're on is going to create a train which is completely then enlightened, beautiful, clean, clear, ready to move forward in the light with brand new information. Now here, I'm going to tell you something, because there will be those who will ask this later when that doesn't happen for them. This is accelerated, advanced information about your Akashic record that you will have to deal with in the ways that you will have presented to you, and also we will talk about in the future. Time is in a circle. Always has been. Time is in a circle. Imagine a railroad track. You are on that track as a train, as a human being, a human train, and you are chugging along on that train. You can go as fast as you or slow as you want, but the train doesn't back up. It always goes into the future. That track is always ahead of you, and what's behind you is what you've done. Now that's how you see it. Now I want you to add a little wrinkle to that. That track goes all around the planet. Forget for a moment that you can't put a track on the ocean. Just pretend. And then that means that eventually your future becomes your past. Are you with me so far? Because you're going to start running over the same track in front of you that is your past. And what is it exactly in your past? It's etched in stone in your Akashic record. And whether it includes one civilization or two, it doesn't matter. The concept is this: you're going to meet your Akash in the future. Some of you won't understand what it is and consider that everything you've done has failed because here it is again. Others of you will recognize that, aha, this is a fractal in time. It is laying on the track because the track remembers what happened. And instead of me absorbing it and taking it on and having to do all this again, we're going to clear it as we go. We're going to expect it to be there. And we're going to see it and we're going to clear it before it ever shows up. Is this too complex? As my partner explained it as I've given it to him, these are the questions that only the future will answer. I've just given you something that's valuable so you won't think you failed, dear ones. Because those of you who have cleared and gone to this place where you say, my Akash is no longer there to irritate me and the benevolence is only there, and suddenly there's something negative. This is the 3D human in the past who will say, see, it didn't work. Then you reveal you didn't expect it to work. And then you reveal, and then you reveal. State of mind, how much you cognize these ideas. I'm telling you that there are things on the track in front of you for you and the planet and all these things that will appear, and you will think it's a return to the past, and it isn't. It's something that you're going to have to look at and say, I recognize this. This is old energy. Get away from me. You're not going to go through this again. Give it a name. Put it away. That's coming because you are now covering the same track again that laid those eggs of the Akash that you cleared. Will there come a time, Kryon, when we can clear all of the Akash, including what's on the front of the train? That's an Akashic clearing that would be past, present, and future. That is more complicated. And that's the next step. I'm telling you about this so you won't be surprised. There will be coming processes to help you. But as you understand it, when it comes at you, you won't be confused. You won't think you did something wrong. You won't go back into guilt. And you'll look at it and go, Kryon said it was here. And here it is. And you can laugh. Because it'll disappear as soon as you recognize what it is. It's a past karma that's in front of your train that you cleared. Therefore, it's a phantom. We'll even give it a name. Beware of phantom karma. Beware of phantom Akash. All of that from your past might show up. Just remember this time and call it what it is. This is a complex channel. It's something that you may want to listen to. It's something that you may want to revisit just to hear these words. I'm about ready to close. Those invisible ones are still here. I want you to feel them for just a moment, and such congratulations to you. If they could put their arms around you, you could feel it. You'd feel so much love. You did it. And they would give you a message and say, don't fear the future. They'd give you a message that say, cast the old fears away. They're not going to come back. It's a brand new path. One that you've never trod before. One without predictions. You're going to lay the track that's never been laid before. That's what it's like. These are the things I have for this day. These are the things for you. And so it is.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. The human being steps aside. And the higher self, which represents that piece of God in every single one of you, is the portal which allows for spirit to enter. So it would be an attribute of compassionate allowance, which lets the human being then channel. And over a period of time, those things which would become difficult at first are more normalized, that are less linear at first become more linear. And so what you are seeing at this moment is because my partner has practiced. And he's given an allowance for Spirit to come through in a way that is pure, loving, and represents the compassion from the other side of the veil. All of the masters who walked the earth featured a compassionate countenance. It ought to tell you about the attitude of God. And so in these moments, at this time, the practice that my partner has gone through creates a situation where he cannot tell what is coming. And that what is coming is a celebration. And so the channeling is about the changes within the shift at hand. It is informative, congratulatory, compassionate, and it is family speaking to family. And we wish to give you the profundity of the shift which is upon you. Even more than that, you take a look at the cycle of what is before you right here in this building. For if you could go back and look at the decisions of where to put it, how to build it, what it should be like, you'll find it was channeled. And so the very moment that you sit here now was seen as a potential when the ground was broken. For the ones who were healed, for the graduates, for the ones who would study the things that are out of 3 dimensions, all of it was seen as the ground was being broken. And that is what we speak of as seeing the future. For Spirit can only see what the potentials are which are there given by human consciousness. And the potentials arrive based upon the attributes of consciousness as you put forward ideas, integrity, purpose. And the old souls of this planet are the forerunners for all of that. Now, the founders who sit here, they probably know of the attributes of who they were, of what they did before they got here, of what brought them together, and the day they broke ground. And so they have a sense of full circle. For at the point at which the ground was broken, there was no assurance that humanity would go into the attribute that it is going into now. Taken on synchronicity and faith, the building was built. That the school was transferred into the spot and began its work. That more than just knowledge, light was being produced here. And by design, those who would be attracted to the light would come. And they would receive the things that they should receive and move into the world, spreading that which had integrity and knowledge, purpose, without bias, to their workplaces and their families. And so we yet say again that it is a human being, one at a time, that makes the difference on this planet and not a group effort. And if it were a group effort, we would put you in groups, treat you in groups, and ask you to arrange yourself in groups, and we do not. We ask you to take that which you find that works for you, which is of the love of God, and you take it home. And that revolves around you so succinctly, individually, beautifully, that other humans would see God in you. The very description of the Namaste, the God in me greets the God in you, is the whole point of everything that is here. But it was a gamble. And now you sit at the cusp in the year of 2012, where there is a recalibration of just about everything going on. And so I'm going to give you still another one in a series we have called The Incredible Human Being. Let's talk about this. The new responsibilities. This has not occurred to you. The things you are looking at right now, old soul, are not occurring to you. And so I'm going to bring some things forward that you haven't thought about, but that we see so clearly. It is why I exist on the planet as an advisor, as a family member, as one who would give you information of hope, of solace. And we say yet again that those who would channel Spirit, the God source from the other side of the veil, are going to bring you first compassion. And all of the things that go with it are going to be soft and beautiful. Never asking you to do something out of integrity, never telling you about dangerous things, perhaps, that might occur, for that is not what we do. A mother would not do that. A father would not do that. When their children look in their eyes and say, what's going to happen next? They come from a position of wisdom and tell their children what they know, that they will be all right. And so we say to you, dear old soul, listen to this. For there is a change afoot. And when I am finished, you will say, well, that may sound wonderful for the upcoming generations, but I'm old and won't see it. And we would like to remind you the reason we're telling you is because when you implement it, you will not be old. For you're coming back. We see you as a chain of lives with one soul. We see one higher self with one name and one face and one energy. It is the one we love. We do not see you changing like you see you do. We see no sting in death as you do. We see you returning to continue what you started. And so this is the way of it. And we give you news which we've always wanted to give you. When my partner opened his mouth for the first time publicly over 20 years ago, it was a halting sound filled with fear and trembling. He didn't know what was going to come out. Not much did. For he got in the way of it constantly. Until he did it so often, he realized it was a safe place to be. While he sits in the chair, his biology is even changed. But he didn't know about today. That today we would be able to tell you what's next because we see what you've done. There was only a potential 20 years ago, and now a reality. You're passing the marker. And for me to explain this to you more succinctly, I would have to give you history. History that you don't know about. Oh, dear ones, you see human history as a long, linear chain of events leading to who you are today. And it didn't happen that way. There were cycles of development of humanity, as many as 4 before you that are significant, each lasting as long as 10,000 Earth years. Developing to a place that would be one that was not sustainable from the consciousness of the prevailing humans on the planet. And there would be what you would call a backwards motion, perhaps even a restart, and Gaia would cooperate. And I do not mean to be cryptic, but these are the things that you can even see in the discoveries of your history. You don't find much past 10,000 years when you've had 50. What about before that? Where is it? You will find those who will discover some of it, and it is hard to find. Even 10,000 is difficult. And those who would live in the Indus Valley, doing what they did, not very attainable what they were doing, it's too old. And yet they were what I will call restarters from something that had happened before that knocked you back. This is not that uncommon, and those who have gone before you in other places have had the same situation. This is called the evolution of human consciousness. But you look at it as one chain. If you go back far enough, even in the 10,000 years that you have, you're going to discover anomalies. The anomalies are civilizations that had running water, not through attributes of devices, but through physics and gravity. Through pumping, water created by understanding gravity and caverns and vacuum, where an entire city could have running water, heated streets. Water developed and delivered through aqueduct systems. And then next to that, you're going to find one that didn't. In fact, it seemed all to go away. And instead of evolving, it seemed to devolve. One city with all of these attributes, and one following it with almost nothing. And you will call it the fall and the rise of certain times and consciousnesses. It's more than that, dear ones. Humans tend to keep good things. They don't throw them away and return to a less aware state on purpose. And if you look hard enough, even within 10,000 years, you're going to see attributes that are puzzling. Why cities built upon modern cities would not be modern. And you have to ask yourself, what happened? What was the responsibility of the human being in the past lives that you have lived for the last 10,000 years, old soul? Not before that. Let's just look at the last 10,000. What were you doing here? What have you been doing in this lifetime? What did you do in the immediate last lifetime? What was the responsibility of the light worker and the old soul? Even the most aware, what was the job? And I'll tell you what it was. It was fighting old energy. So the responsibility of everything that you can remember and not remember, old soul, was carrying your light in a dark consciousness. And that is the extent of the responsibility, a big one, that you've had. And so all of this time, all that you really had to know about is how to hold your light. And as long as you could do that, you create more light. And some of you have been through what we would call the ringer because of it. There are those in the room who've lost friends and family because of it. There are those in the room who live short lifetimes because of it. There are those in the room who raised their hand at the wrong time and were burned at the stake because of it. There are shamanic energies in the room. That is to say, human beings who've gone through the initiation and all the protocol to come to a place where they're ostracized because they can see things they shouldn't see. Medicine men and women who had to live at the outside of the village, where their family would only come see them when they needed something and leave when they didn't, because the healer always lived alone. Because the healer had attributes that normal human beings didn't. Now, I may be striking some chords here because there are old souls in the room that are starting to understand why they feel the way they feel. Because all of this akash we speak of is starting to surface. You're becoming a little more aware of what you've been through, because you must become more aware of what you've been through in order to capture that which you need and bring it forward for what's ahead. If I told you you've won the battle of the light, would you believe me? And I will tell you this, dear human being, that everything that we are looking at says you have. You look at the world and you say, that's nonsense, Kryon. I just got through with my partner, with hours showing you what's different on the planet. I'm standing next to him the whole time. Some of you can see me. Some of you are aware of the colors that are there. You're looking at a meld. And those in graduate channeling will tell you, you cease to turn it on and turn it off. It becomes something that is part of you, human being, and comes forward when you need it, but then never goes away. This is not new, for this is what the masters of the planet had and showed you and told you about. Human, every one of them, every one. A divinity that bubbles right at the surface, that's there all the time, and is beautiful and compassionate. If I told you you'd won the battle of light, would you believe me? When you came into the planet, it was different. This is the great shift, and the potentials are that the seeds will be planted in the next 18 years that will shift this planet greatly in the next 70. And that if I could show you at all what might take place then, you would not understand it, for it features things that you know nothing about today. Like George Washington did not know about the internet, you don't know about what's coming. And it's not explainable. Because some of the discoveries will be quantum, and they'll have to do with communications, and when it is opened, and that particular knowledge is studied, and the invention is turned on, you will have communications with those you didn't even think existed. Can you imagine how that's going to change the earth? It's a bonding when you see the big picture, when you realize you're not alone. It's a catalyst for peace. It's not frightening when you hear those who have always wanted to talk to you in real time and you now can do it and you realize they're just like you. It's an earth that may celebrate instead of going to fear like your movies tell you, if you understand what I'm saying. You passed a marker where the potentials are very high, light worker, very high, that through these next decades, things will continue to settle. It takes a long time, for the energy dies hard in certain individuals, and they will not die at all until they die. And so you will have those who will hang on to the end, believing they're correct in their old energy, in their greed, in the way they think things work. For those of you who think you're going to turn a page and everything's going to be wonderful, I tell you that. It isn't. But the struggle that is the main struggle of dark and light is changing. For you are no longer fighting the wall of darkness that is insurmountably affixed in front of you. It's moved. It softens. It becomes lighter. Shades of gray, perhaps. But you're winning the battle. And that means you're going to face another kind of responsibility. And in order for you to see what is next and what you might be doing, light worker, it's not going to be that hard, for we're going to take you back in time, way before 10,000 years, way before this section of your civilization, to what the ancients did, to what the Lemurians did, to even some of the first religions on the planet that were intuitive did. But that's where you're going. You might say it is a repeat of history, but let us study it together. Let us go back to the early days, the very early days. Let us look at 50,000, if not more, years ago in places that were developing on this planet where the seeds of divinity had been planted and humans had the knowledge of dark and light. The creation story was complete, however you see it. And I can take you to several places to look around and see what is there and what is not there. In Lemuria, what are you doing? In Lemuria, you look around and you see the study is about self. You have temples of wisdom in Lemuria, a study of self. You have healing temples in Lemuria. It's the study of the human body. It is about consciousness over matter, because that's what you were taught by those who were there, who were the teachers. There were no statues to worship then. There was no division of sacred thought then. All on one page with an acknowledgement of what had happened. I want you to look at that, because that's where you're going. A return to the past. Some years ago, I asked my partner to go to Uluru. He had a profound experience there. He did not sit in front of the Aborigine for very long. He listened to the stories, and he was aware of the energies. And it was a long time after he left that he started piecing together what he had heard. And here's what he heard. A civilization more than 50,000 years old, in the middle of a continent that never changed, much like Lemuria. So that which was developed then passed through the elders and through the young people and then through the elders again, became clear what had taken place. What was the Aborigine doing back then? We're not going to find a lot of idols to worship. For they were receiving information for what they called their seed sisters. And what they had called the ones that were sacred with names that could be not pronounced. And that they took that information within, and the first thing they did was to ally with the earth. That they saw a consciousness in the planet and they allied with it. They did not worship it. That they saw a quantum energy, and that's all we can call it, that was available to them in what they would call their dream time. They believed they could be in two places at the same time, and they were. And they still do it. And there would be those who look and say, oh, how quaint. Well, there's nothing quaint about it. It's advanced, dear ones. Elders with names that cannot be pronounced from places that don't exist on the planet, teaching them what to do next. It was about self, learning all about themselves, what the divinity inside them could do. You take a look at the ancients on this planet, and it was about what they could do with the planet. You look at the tribes that were tens of thousands of years old. There weren't a lot of idols for them. Instead, they had a firm grasp on their connection with the earth. That's what they did. They were aware of what today has been lost. You're struggling with dark and light. They're learning quantum. The Hindus on the planet claim that theirs is the first organized group to put together something that would have what you would call loosely as membership. They would have devotees, those who would dedicate their lives to the study of the God within. And listen to what they said. That a human being could achieve such a status of ascension that they wouldn't die. Or that if they did, they would come back in the same form. That they had past lives and future lives. Does this sound familiar? The Hindu was studying the quantum parts of their own divinity, leading to the Buddhists who would see the connection with all things being one, with the earth, with the sky, with the energies of the garden. The gentleness and the compassion. Am I being clear to you? This is where you're going. Not to become a Hindu or a Buddhist or a Lemurian or an Aborigine, but to take the light that you have struggled with and start turning it inward and finding mastery. The new responsibility of the human being in these next years is starting to twist itself from fighting a battle of dark and light to moving into knowledge. What did the Lemurians do? They studied knowledge given to them by their seed sisters. What did the Aborigines do? They studied the knowledge given to them. If you ask an ancient where the knowledge has come from, he will say the ancestors. And the ancestors are the ones who are revered because of their knowledge. If you ask a Hindu what is the most primal thing he can do as a Hindu, he will say to study God inside me, and that is knowledge. Now, it comes full circle. You sit in a building, and there are those who can remember when the first shovel of dirt was turned over. You come full circle. For the grounds here are sacred. And when you walk outside, you should know that they are. Because it's about the knowledge of the God inside. And that's the only thing they teach here. This is a futurist academy. And the elders knew it at some level when they put that which is here and made it real. So even it will change, but not much. For the things they teach in this place is where it's going. And there will be more teaching it, and more old souls attracted to this. Perhaps even extensions of this. No more fighting the battle of dark and light. Instead, it is turning itself into the study of the God inside. And that creates more light than anything you can imagine on the planet. It plants the seeds firmly. Not so that all will someday become light workers, for that's not in the cards, as they say, but so that all would have eventually a more compassionate consciousness, no matter what they believe. Brought to them by old souls who are changing the very crystalline grid of the planet, the grid that remembers who you are. That's why they call it crystalline. Look in front of me. You've got an altar under the ground, and part of it is crystalline. A testament to what is coming, to what was known, is available. You might say a metaphor of pieces of the earth that remember the vibration of what you put into them. As you study the knowledge of the ancients, which is the God inside you, you generate light. More light than you can imagine going into the crystalline grid, creating portals that didn't happen before, creating an eventual consciousness that when a child is born on this planet in the future, that's what they'll pick up first, because that's what Gaia will give them. And they won't have to fight the battle of dark and light that you did. And some of them will be you, old soul. And you'll come into this planet firmly with a compassionate factor that you didn't have when you struggled with the fight of dark and light. It's the new human being. It's the new responsibility. The incredible human being is changing. But it's come full circle. Imagine the struggle to teach the kind of things that are taught here. When the knowledge was fighting the darkness around it. Now, turn the page and imagine for a moment those who will line up to be part of this because they see the wisdom in it. And the fight will not be as great. Dear ones, these things are here now. We don't have a clock on our side of the veil. And the timing of all of it has to do with potentials, not absolutes. The years of time we give of planting the seeds has to do with the energies that have been given through what we would call the movement of Gaia. What some of you will also call astrological energies that present themselves because of the motion of the planets, that are like windows that you can move through or not. And dear human being, even that is changeable with human consciousness. And so the message becomes clear. You're moving into a new responsibility, teaching new things, and for some of you, it won't be comfortable. Because all your life, all you've done, is fight the dark. Before I close, let me give you some of the attributes that may occur. Whenever you have a shift of this kind, there will be those who don't shift. And will have to go through life the way they are, pretending to fight a battle that is no longer there, or at least not to the extent it was. And when the enemy starts to disappear, they will conjure their own so that they can continue to fight. It's an odd perspective, but it is real. And so they will go into imbalance, conspiracy, unhappiness, and fear. And they'll be light workers because no one sat and told them about this building or the things that are in the future that are a realignment of perception. Expect it. And then there will be the ones who will then graduate past the old into the new, realigning themselves and testing what it means. And so here is the promise as we close. We're not going anywhere. Whatever you call this energy, which is in this room right now, is being increased, not decreased. And the ones who come in here in the future, if they want to, can feel the hand on them, with them, in their hand if they want. A higher coherence of compassion is available. As you turn the corner, you graduate. And that graduation is from the old battle to the new. And the oldest of souls will be the ones who will see it first and make the adjustment. Not easy, what you've asked to do. Advanced information today that many will hear and not understand. But the ones in the room, you've got an advantage because we're here with you right now in a place that is sacred, pressing upon you a compassionate God. The energy of Gaia smiles upon this place. The rocks and the air, all which have their own kind of life, know who you are and what you're doing. And so there is a blessing of initiation upon you, some of whom are more than 50,000 years old. Well done, incredible human being. And so it is.
Archive.